Will Loki battle mats the Cyberpunk Red set Mutant Chronicles? Siege of the Citadel? Ever since I backed the Cyberpunk set and, of course, got them in and opened them up, I have wanted to pair these together. There are precious few resources for Cyberpunk or post-apocalyptic mutant wasteland setting dungeon crawlers, and there are precious few board games to apply those assets to. So this is a match made in heaven. We're going to see if the Cyberpunk set won't breathe some homebrew life into Mutant Chronicles, Siege of the Citadel, the old 90s version of the game. Now, there has been an update to this IP. There are newer Mutant Chronicles games, so if this works out, then you can be absolutely sure that the newer version of this game would work out with these books. So, children, cover your eyes. Off goes the lid. Lots of things in this box, but I have a dedicated video to the unboxing and overview of Mutant Chronicles. If you'd like to see that, it's elsewhere on the channel. I have a dedicated video exploring all of the maps from the Cyberpunk set and everything else from the all-in box. If you'd like to see that, that video is on the channel as well. Today, we are going to glance at the existing maps from Mutant Chronicles, and we'll see if they're compatible with these map boards from Loki. And we will take the miniatures out, and we will take this 3D riser for map number 8, and map number 8 will take the quest book and missions book out, the rules book and missions book, that is. We'll take out the Azagul because he's just so cool. More like the Azacool, am I right? We'll go ahead and take the Citadel itself, or the Spire, or whatever this thing's called. And I think that's all the materials we're going to play with when we explore this concept. So things that could kind of be adjacent in this overall setting, for which I don't have a shorthand name: Mad Max, Judge Dredd, Shadowrun, Cyberpunk. Aeon Flux might be one of those as well. Shout out in the comments below if you ever watched MTV's Aeon Flux. Just straight up depressing sometimes, but man, iconic cartoon. We're going to go ahead and just open up volume 1 for now anyway, because I want to keep everything on the camera. And the first thing we're going to do is look at map compatibility. Will these fit onto the existing boards? My goodness, they fit almost perfectly. Almost perfectly do they follow the standard. I think that this is probably a 15/16 of an inch standard versus the inch standard. No, actually it is an 1/8 of an inch off, actually, both ways. It's almost like a 64th inch variance, but it's not enough to really introduce any sort of meaningful tile creep when you overlay these tiles on the board. Now, this isn't going to make much sense because of the baked-in elements of the board and the room configuration, but placing this down on one of the map boards is doable. It is something you can do. As long as things line up, you can make this make sense. We have our desert map here. We could go ahead and throw this in the corner to overlay this. This makes sense. This could represent just a small warehouse out in this wasteland, something that you're tasked with invading in order to procure precious materials or defeat enemies. Yeah, this is really exciting that this actually matches up with this so well. I'm really glad about that. There might not be a whole lot of maps within this collection where you can overlay these in a way that makes sense, but there are going to be some. If you look, we can cover this container completely, and now we can say that we have this entrance to this lower area here, 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 here. All of these modular map boards that come with Siege of the Citadel have got these open entry exit points, much like Space Crusade does, so that you can configure them in this variety of different ways, according to the examples given in the missions book. Now, if you don't want spoilers, just don't look at like the text for these, but really this isn't going to follow a very cohesive story as much as it is just a cyberpunk power fantasy. So all of these are pretty well standalone missions, but if you take a look at just the image portions of each, you can see the 3D Citadel overlaying the boards and the function of that. There's actually not any sort of functional reason for that. When I unboxed the game, I assumed that this would kind of have the same function as the walls from Space Crusade, in that the 3D real estate here would block off certain passages, thereby giving the designer more control over the flow of a given mission. But since the entry and exit points on every single Mutant Chronicles tile are exactly centered along both axes on both sides, and this is always placed, the Citadel is always placed where the center is along a given edge, none of the 3D walls are actually blocking off any passages. So functionally, this has no use. It is just set dressing that looks really cool if you're a kid growing up in the 90s playing these awesome board games. Okay, so we know that we don't necessarily have to incorporate the Citadel here in any meaningful way when we are using the Loki battle maps boards, when we're using the original boards, but if we're using Loki's battle maps, then the Citadel can be placed in such a way that it does block off tiles. See how this works? This actually works fairly well. I'm going to apologize for the gloss and the not great camera angle. You're not really missing a whole lot here. Anyway, I could take the camera down and kind of zoom in and around and show you, but like the little bit of tile creep here for the Citadel alone, it just barely encroaches there, and that's fine. But then, it's actually kind of hard to get to stay straight. There must be other pieces that help keep this all aligned. That's fine. This is fine. This is fine. This makes sense. Well, this doesn't really make sense because this road is traveling and the Citadel would not be built on the road, and the road would not be built through the Citadel. It would go around it. So this is a bad example also. You could place this at the corner of these maps. Otherwise, this is just kind of in the way. It's awkward. It's kind of in the way and awkward with the main game of Siege of the Citadel anyway. It's just something for players to have to look through, reach over, reach around. So we will remove that from play for the time being. I want to show the existing boards off to the side of the battle maps. I think that this works really, really well. Also, you could do something like this. You can have these buildings encroach onto the boards as part of stops on this highway. You could have this facility be here. Yes, I like this very much. Although when you do have them going over the rings in the center of this ring-bound map book, you will experience the tile creep just a little bit differently, since there's a little bit more space along these tiles on the inner edge to provide for room for this ring, such that if you were to cut this part of the map away so that you could remove this from the book for even more versatility, you wouldn't lose any of the actual usable tile space, and things would still line up perfectly as long as you cut along this non-existent seam. So effectively, you'd have to pretend like your rings are continuing up here through these maps. That might be a little bit less immersive. So I would probably break these up. I would probably block these exits off, or I would just leave them as is and just say you can't traverse between them or come out onto the board. And these can still function as enemy entrances and exits. According to the mission book, we have several of these arrows per map. The entrance for the Doom Troopers to arrive are the white arrows. This is something that you'll have to homebrew whenever you are making your own missions for Mutant Chronicles using the Loki's battle maps. I would probably say that any of the viable entrances and exits on the nice one, Ash, that exist on every single Loki battle map board, specifically the south, west, north, and east 2 squares dead center of each board, just like the Mutant Chronicles board actually, would be perfectly serviceable for the Doom Trooper entrances. Oh, and by the way, Doom Trooper, if you missed my other videos, that sounds like the bad guy name, right? But that's who you guys are, the heroes. The heroes are the Doom Troopers. You have to be total badasses to fight the Dark Legion. Doom Trooper entrances are white arrows. Dark Legion entrances are black arrows. It's not a case of whatever entrance exit is not being used by a Doom Trooper is one being used for the enemy. In fact, you have some missions where you have a definitive entrance for the good guys, a definitive exit, and a definitive entrance for the bad guys. A few more examples of how this works with the default map boards that come with Mutant Chronicles. Yeah, and you can see this is board number 8 here, the one with the vertical real estate making an appearance. I want to see if that one lines up with our boards in any meaningful way, or if it encroaches too much to be immersive. So you can't put it in the center because it's going to sit on the rings, unfortunately. You could probably get around that if you placed risers underneath the book such that the ring binding could go under the book. Right now, it's completely over the top of the book, while the bottom of the book, I promise you, is flat. But if we were able to invert that, we'd have a flat section here. Can we place it onto the board? Obviously, you'd be able to take this part and put it on the board, but we have these sort of encroachments, these half tiles that go off to the side. It's part of the artwork that's not usable for gameplay. and that's just because of how it's cut. That's just the manufacturing. It is what it is, unfortunately. It looks like that the tiles were supposed to be serviceable because we have these white areas up here. I'm kind of mad that I never noticed this before. I'm kind of miffed. My miniature would not be able to stand on this square at all. There'd really be no way to represent him being on this square in particular. Half on this one, half on this one, to say that he's on this one, I guess. Oh man, that's really irritating. But putting that aside, this is supposed to be on this riser every time you use it. So you would put the riser here, and there's a little bit more tile encroachment because of the plastic around here. If you were brave enough to cut this away, and I don't really see why you couldn't or would want to avoid it, except to preserve the integrity of the plastic from this vintage board game, then it would work out a lot better, but I don't think it'd be worth the effort. As far as existing tiles, they can sit on top of those lips, and it actually looks pretty immersive. It looks really, really cool this way. It makes me wish for 3D elements in my other dungeon crawling board games that are like this, that allow you more up to a different level gameplay option. I like that a lot. Okay, so we've looked at the existing map boards and how they're going to look and how they're going to be when they are paired with these. But now we can empty out a few Doom Troopers. We don't have to empty out everybody. We can have 2 sets of Doom Troopers, 2 corporations. We've got the Green Corporation here with these 2 losers jumping in to their doom. And when we have the Gray Corporation with these absolute 40K looking dudes coming in, I bet they talk like Saturday morning cartoon army men. Now we're going to take some of the Dark Legion. I know, it's horrifying to see them in a plastic bag. I don't have them in appropriate plastic storage yet, so try not to judge me too hard. I gotta take these and transfer them to hard plastic storage as soon as possible. The fact is, I haven't pulled out Mutant Chronicles except for like 3 times since I bought it a year or 2 ago, and I only recently wanted to show it on the channel and get all of this presented with homebrew. I think it's a really, really cool game, and if you were going to say HeroQuest was your past fantasy dungeon crawler and Space Crusade was your futuristic dungeon crawler and you needed something in between, I really think Mutant Chronicles would firmly be planted in that middle to provide you with a way to scratch that itch. That's it. The doors are baked onto the board with Loki battle mats. You have your doorways already here. You don't need separate door pieces or tiles or anything like that. This works perfectly. This is extremely serviceable because Mutant Chronicles does have line of sight rules. It doesn't have any like door open actions, closing. This is another one that's skewed. Am I going to have to buy another copy of Mutant Chronicles to replace tiles 7 and 8? What else is skewed like that? Those are the only ones. Why did I never notice that? That's crazy. You do lose the charm of the sort of Saturday morning cartoon artwork here. It kind of looks like with this particular tile, we have a sort of pit baked into the board. I don't know if that is the case. It doesn't seem like there is a doorway defined around this 3x3 area. So I would say that that's just a lower area from which you can fight. But you could absolutely make use of all of the baked in options on a given board. So I love this, by the way. I think this looks awesome. I think it actually perfectly suits the Mutant Chronicles miniatures, and I think the mission setups would be amazing this way. So if you're watching this channel because you do HeroQuest stuff and you have Mutant Chronicles, you need the Loki Cyberpunk set, because I think that this is going to be just a wealth of homebrew and an absolute revival of Mutant Chronicles as far as like the 5 people out there that would actually play this. And if you have the Loki Cyberpunk set and you're looking for a way to actually use them, other than with your TTRPG campaigns, because if you're watching this, you're probably not playing a lot of TTRPGs. You're probably playing more like dungeon crawler board games. That, I don't mean for that to be like a gross oversimplification of my audience. I just said probably. I didn't even say likely. I said probably. However, I do know that there's a subset of people that watch the channel that do play TTRPGs, a lot of different TTRPGs. But if you're wanting to use this board game style, because TTRPGs would rather you use a lot of theater of the mind anyway, then I think you need to get Mutant Chronicles, either the old one or the more contemporary one. And I'm aware that there's a Mutant Chronicles TTRPG. I'm pretty sure the role-playing game is from way back when this board game was out even. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit more into the spoilers of the mission details so that we can come up with some homebrew ideas. We're going to look at mission 3. Actually, we'll go ahead and look at mission 1 again. We've seen this in a different video, but if you haven't seen that, then this is your introduction to how the missions work in Mutant Chronicles. You have a briefing, the mission itself, the time limit, the Dark Legion resources, and the rewards. And then you have the actual map itself. It's very simple, which is why I'm a big fan of it. The briefing is your lore text. The entrance to Alakai Citadel has been blown open by the bomb squad. Doom Trooper entrance points are marked white arrow. Here are your white arrows going in. They don't explain this part again. This is assumed to be common knowledge after mission 1. But now you've got these white arrows that will indicate where you can enter the board. It's a lot like Space Crusade in that regard, except you have even more options. So your Doom Troopers can come in through here. Another player's Doom Troopers can come in through here or use the same one. Wherever you have decided the white arrows should be for your homebrew Loki battle mats boards. So I've decided it's going to be here and here. And I've crafted a story that you're just going in to clear out the Dark Legion forces that have been snooping around this area looking for a place to potentially set up a recruitment center, or I don't know if the Dark Legion is actually recruiting anybody. But we have black arrow points, and we'll get to that. That's under the time limit section. The mission itself for Eagle Strike of the game is the Doom Troopers must eliminate 20 promotion points of Dark Legion creatures. By the end of the mission, one Doom Trooper from a player's team must exit the game board from Sector 1 or 4 to collect the reward. So here's Sector 1, here's Sector 4. So if we were going to analog this gameplay objective, we'd say you've got to eliminate 20 promotion points worth of Dark Legion creatures. That's it. Then one of the corporation's Doom Troopers, any team, doesn't matter, just one of them, somebody, has got to leave the board section 1. So we can say page 25 because the Loki battle mats have these useful page numbers in the corners. So that's probably how I would do it. You could absolutely be more precise. They're doing like entire boards with this particular one, but we do have future missions which do just specific entrances and exits per board. So I could say that you have to exit here, the west end of page 25 or the left side page. And this doesn't really seem like a huge deal when we're using one Battle Maps book. But of course, you can take and use 2 Battle Maps books, and this will actually more emulate the sizing of the original Mutant Chronicles quests, because a lot of them are going to be multiples of 8 spaces, because the map boards are 8 by 8, and usually they'll be, I'll just show you, it looks like usually you have something that's 3 across. It's 24 spaces by 16, at least on one section. It's not a full 24 by 16, but 16 deep, 24 across. This is how big your table space is going to have to be, at least 24 by 16. Then you've got another one that's 24 by 16. You've got another one that's pretty much 16 by 24. Then you've got a 24 by 24. This is how big you should expect your table space to be. Kind of, I can't say maximum, because then we have another one that actually does a 32 by 32 table space, because we have these 4 8-bys going this way and 4 8-bys going up and down. It doesn't seem to get big. Oh, I'm wrong. I was immediately proven wrong. It actually gets to a 40 inches across, because, I mean, you could play it this way. You could do 40 inches deep. I mean, it just depends on how you want to sit on the table and how awkward you want to be. This is an awkward situation here, no matter how you slice it. This is also an awkward situation, no matter how you slice it. But you can absolutely do 5 times 8 for a 40 inches across mission. This one is 24 across, so it's 40 by 24. Never mind any of that. You can do 24 by 24 easily with 2 of the Loki books, and you can absolutely take these and arrange them in an L or kind of in a T fashion or a J, however you want to coin those. But you can have those same variations in mission, and without that citadel taking up space for players to kind of reach across and reach around and such, it's going to be easier to play on this configuration. So moving on, we have a time limit. We have 4 rounds. Reminder, Dark Legion player draws 4 event cards. Reinforcements on the event cards enter at entrance points in the Citadel marked black arrow. Here's where our reinforcements enter. You got to define at the beginning of the game where that's going to happen if you're playing this kind of game, if you have reinforcements. We want another example of time limit. Let's go to mission 2, Trapped. Time limit here is 7 rounds. Remove the Azagul attack event card this mission. Dark Legion reinforcements cannot enter in Sector 2. That's Sector 2. They just can't enter at all in this sector. It looks like they could pretty much enter everywhere else, though, since there's no definition on where the Dark Legion can enter and yet we still do have reinforcements. For mission 3, the time limit is 5 rounds. Reinforcements are not allowed during round 5. We don't have black arrows to show the reinforcements here again, so they can probably enter from pretty much everywhere as long as it's not round 5. Assault on the East Tower has a time limit of 8 rounds. Reinforcements are not allowed during rounds 6, 7, and 8. So again, supporting my theory without a quick check in the rulebook at all, that reinforcements are able to enter pretty much anywhere. Moving on to the next organ of the anatomy of missions, we have our Dark Legion resources. And this just tells you how many force cards you have. You might have reminders, you might have other notes. So for mission 1, force cards 1 through 7, reminder, Dark Legion player places the force cards on the game board sectors. For mission 2, trapped, our Dark Legion resources are force cards 3 through 7. The Azogul figure enters at the indicated entrance, which is right here. Indicated. Super simple way to read the mission layouts, and just not going to have even the complexity of a HeroQuest quest setup, which I think is an amazing achievement. The Space Crusade missions, to their credit, are also very simple to set up too. I think that this beats Space Crusade in terms of simplicity, but you know, it is what it is. Dark Legion resources for mission 3, force cards 1 through 7. You could establish what the Dark Legion resource cards are going to be. And it seems like it could be as simple as saying 1 through 7. You're just really saying what range. The force cards for mission 4 is force cards 1 through 8 and 12. Force cards 1 through 8 and 10. Force cards 1 through 12 for mission 8. It just goes on like that. That's a very easy thing to define and justify. Lastly, you have your rewards. The Doom Troopers receive 1 credit. If the Doom Troopers fail to complete the mission, the Dark Legion player receives 2 credits. So there's just 2 parts to the reward system. Explain how many credits the Doom Troopers will receive and how per what, if applicable, and if the mission is failed, how many credits the Dark Legion player will receive, or what objectives need to be met for the Dark Legion player to receive credits. Because while you can play Mutant Chronicles as one-shots or even series of one-shots, you are going to want to play it as a campaign, and your Dark Legion player can actually get credits to spend on things to give him an advantage, or to give them an advantage during the campaign, just like the Doom Trooper hero players. You've probably looked at this board long enough, even though it looks amazing and awesome and cool, it makes me want to play. I will go ahead and switch over to a different set of boards. We'll close the mission book for now, and we'll just randomly flip to 2 boards because they're all compatible with one another. They all work together. My pages are kind of like bent in spots, and I don't know why. This doesn't happen with the other Loki books. I know that the manufacturing technique's a little bit different for these, I think, because I believe the other Loki books have got like a space between the books pages. You don't have that with these? Air is getting in between my quest maps. I don't know why. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and make our own mission. We're going to make sure that we specify that book 1, maps 13 and 14 will be on top. Book 2, maps 17 and 18 will be on the bottom. This mission will be called Ambush. Dark Legion resources are force cards, I don't know, 1 through 12. Just go whole hog. For time limit, well, we'll do 8 rounds, and we'll say that reinforcements are not allowed during round 1. This is to kind of give the immersive feeling that the players are entering into the arena section here, and then all of the reinforcements are coming out. Rewards, why not just pick 1 from one of the other missions? Doom Troopers will receive 2 credits. If the Doom Troopers fail to complete the mission, the Dark Legion player receives 2 credits. You'll notice that we have orientation of the boards here defined because we have board number 7 actually turned to its side on this one. Something I didn't notice before, I think there is actually a defined wall on map board 7. Is there? No, there could be, but I wouldn't know because the stupid thing was cut too deep on that side. It's all crooked. But yeah, there probably was a white line all the way across, meaning that this board stopped you from going into the adjacent board on that side, which actually makes mission 2 make a lot more sense because now you can't go this way. The boards are not all interconnected at every single center section. You have to go this way. And that's really cool because the Azogul enters here and kind of chases you down this way. It's a pretty strong enemy. It's this guy here. Now, let's say we could have him enter on round 7. He could enter here. If we want to keep this basic, we'll just outline a sort of, you must eliminate 25 promotion points of Dark Legion creatures. By the end of the mission, Doom Troopers must leave the board from any of the exits marked with the white arrow. And I guess I would go ahead and put a white arrow, not on the top boards, because I kind of want them to be challenged. We'll do, you can't see it unless I move this up. I'll put a white arrow here. You have to specifically leave from the center of this. I'm going to go ahead and say that the rest of this is just caved in. This is an escape route or one of these escape routes. Actually, these are better defined. I would just go ahead and say these two are the escape routes. So effectively, this begins, you come in, monsters appear, line of sight, you are able to combat them with your existing weapons. Enemy is able to play force cards, bring in reinforcements through the points of entry, which I would go ahead and say, since this is an ambush, the points of entry are going to be the same as the Doom Trooper entrances past round 1. So they're going to be trying to chase you through here and kind of box you in. There might be better map combinations. I mean, I chose these at random, so of course there would have to be better ones where this sort of ambush scenario would make more sense. But man, it's immediately immersive. The theming is immediately on point. I 100% am sure that this is not what Loki envisioned when they created this set of map boards, but man, this is exactly how I would use them because it is so cool. Let's find 17 and 18 of the top book. That's right. I think that they were mismatched. I don't remember if these were the pages that were mismatched, though. We had a clear set of pages in the top book and a clear set of pages in the bottom book that were not the same, but when you flipped this one forward, they were the same, and if you flipped both of them back, they were the same. Like same theming, not the same maps. Yeah, I think this was it, because you have a road on both of these sets of pages. So if we go forward, is that it? No. If you go backwards, is that it? That's the one. This is the set of pages. It's 15 and 16 in map book volume 2. Sorry, volume 2 is up top, not volume 1. I broke my tradition. And in volume 1, it's 17 and 18. One of the, I'm going to say, rare times I've seen them make what I'm going to refer to as a mistake. I don't think that this was designed to be this way. Although when I look at the back of the books, they are correct. 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 are correctly labeled. So I don't know, maybe it is supposed to be that way. It just seems strange. By the way, map art by Matt Henderson. I really have to express my just how impressed I am with the specific set of maps. The fantasy ones usually knock it out of the park anyways, but the Cyberpunk, that's a whole different flavor. That's a whole different skill set for somebody. And these look so good. And you can tell they're going to function so well with whatever you want to use them in. Shadowrun, if there's a board game out there, a dungeon crawler-esque kind of game, if there's not, there needs to be. I would love that. I would buy and play that in a heartbeat. But if that's out there, these books are going to work perfectly well with that. You might have some Cyberpunk specific branding, some corporation logos or gang logos or something like that, but that's really not anything that's going to take you out of the immersion. You could just say that they exist in the same world. That's very easy to do. You could just ignore them. You could just say that whoever's spray painting that stuff is a fan of the fictional universe of Cyberpunk, which would apply to our Shadowrun. It's like going out in the real world and finding that somebody spray painted The Simpsons on a train car. It doesn't mean The Simpsons exist in real life. They exist as a media in real life. But these miniatures look so good on these maps. And I think that the maps are just a match made in heaven with Mutant Chronicles. So that's all I really wanted to do, was show you how well these two things worked together, get you interested in one or the other, maybe both of these things. I'm not sponsored in any way by Pressman. I don't even think they exist anymore. So I can simp over Mutant Chronicles just because I'm genuinely a huge fan of this board game. Loki did send me some gifts, but I did pledge for my own set of Cyberpunk books, and this is exactly what I pledged for. So this video is not sponsored by Loki either. I'm just saying these two things go together so well. And I was kind of wanting to do a Will at HeroQuest, but the more I thought about it, the less it made sense. It would have been funny. It kind of would have been like a joke to do a Will at the Cyberpunk Maps HeroQuest, but you know, they legitimately have a homebrew purpose here if you have a Cyberpunk or Mutant Wasteland kind of game to play. And if you get Mutant Chronicles, then you will. So that's it, brave heroes. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Comment whatever you like down below, and I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, farewell for now.